Hey, what's up guys? This is Anthony from Anthony's Customs, and for this review, we are looking at the SH Figuarts MAJIN VEGETA Exclusive Edition from SDCC, which may or may not be an SDCC exclusive. We don't know yet. There is a link in the description below that'll have all of the information you need to know in order to buy these things. But as of right now, SDCC is the only place to do that in person. That's all the information I have to give you. These were provided to me as review samples so that I could review them for you. Of course, I can say whatever the heck I want. They don't care, as long as I tell you how you can buy them and show you the product. And so here we go. This figure is, I would argue, a much needed update to the original release, because the original release left a lot of people with kind of a bitter taste in their mouth. This figure is not flawless. It is still the same core, the same mold, but there is a lot more to like about it. So we're going to talk about all of that. So let's go ahead and get it off the stand and take a closer look. Alrighty, this guy stands to the top of where his head would be, not counting the weird sculpt on this one, about 13 centimeters. Then the hair takes him up to about 16. That's going to make him roughly, let's say 5 1/4 and 6 3/8. So same sizes as before. All right, let's do a quick question of the day. How did you feel about this figure when it first came out? Not this one, the original release, this one. I know a lot of people were very excited for a MAJIN VEGETA, and then I'm pretty sure I remember a lot of people being very upset. This figure had some weird issues, very tiny trunk, weird things throughout. This is obviously the same mold, but I think they did do some good work here to update it to make it a more desirable figure. You guys can let me know how you feel about that by the end of the review. Okay, so as far as the review goes, aesthetically speaking, let's do a comparison. All right, major differences. Obviously the blue, much more of like a navy blue. This has a little bit of like a purpley color to it. It's very pale. Definitely prefer this color for him. This one, if it has shading, I don't notice it. This one definitely has some like light shading on the legs. I don't see any on the torso, which is a little bit weird. Not super obvious when it's posed with the effect part, but as it stands, it's a little strange. Flesh tones, they look kind of similar on camera. This one is definitely more peachy. This one is a little bit more yellowy, a little more, or less saturated. Kind of like that Goku we looked at the other day. Definitely a less saturated look over here. Okay, so the gloves, pretty darn close. The new one has slightly grayer gloves. These are slightly lighter, have a tinge of blue. The toes, very, very similar. And I know people I think people have been saying that they're the wrong boots. I don't know, I don't remember. But it is the same mold. Generally speaking, SDCC exclusives are the same figures repainted and sometimes with extra accessories, but it's never a brand new figure, or at least I don't think it ever has been. And so that would explain why it has the same feet. Now, as for the faces and hair, obviously the new one has the gold hair and the old one has the painted hair. It's not the best example of painted hair, but it's pretty good. And I would say this is also pretty good gold hair. So if you're into the gold, a lot of people are, this one's excellent. There's no shading in it, but it is the transparent plastic with the gold paint on top. Okay, now as far as the faces go, I would argue the new one has a significantly better face. It's entirely different paint job and changes the whole look of everything. This is a very SH Figuarts Dragon Ball Z specific era type of paint job. I think a lot of figures, you guys know what I'm talking about if you collected these guys. They all had this type of paint job for a long time. Now we're starting to get into a little bit more of a detailed, more accurate look, and I love it. Even the M logo, the MAJIN logo, so much nicer. The eyes with the black line work, squintier, love it. Love it. Okay, so that's it for the comparisons. So let's get into the nitty gritty. Love the paint job on the faces. It's worth noting the flesh tone on the faces are painted, because this time we do have the transparent hair, so it's made, the whole piece is made out of transparent plastic, whereas on the other one, the flesh tones on the face were just the PVC, so it did have a slightly nicer finish, but they did a good job. It's not chunky and glossy like Krillin, so I'm very pleased with that. I think these faces are worth the purchase alone. If you weren't fully satisfied with the other Vegeta, these faces would make it a lot better. Personally speaking, same thing for the navy blue. Looks much better. Still the weird sculpt, really big legs compared to the size of his chest and abdomen. But aesthetically speaking, I think this is very, very nice. I'm not even a big fan of the metallic hair on these guys, but it looks nice. This is a very aesthetically pleasing release as compared to the original, which obviously it has some merit. If you like the yellow painted hair, then this is a big difference. But, you know, I think personally I like this one a lot more. You can physically swap the heads, though the skin tones don't match, so it doesn't really work out as well as it did on Goku. So aesthetically, I like this guy a lot, including the flaws of the previous release being the sculpt. It's worth noting the finish here. This is painted flesh. His face is painted flesh. His neck is molded flesh. It's not as bad in person as it is on camera, the differentiation between the neck and the chest, but it isn't perfect because you do have paint on navy blue plastic as opposed to just PVC. So it's not perfect. It's about the same, I would say, in terms of the level of difference as the original release. He wasn't perfect either, but it's not a huge deal. So anyway, including all of the flaws of the original release being the weird sculpt and everything, it's a lower score, but what they've done to update it is very nice. I really hope they carry that over to a new release that just has a whole new body. So new stuff's great, old stuff's still not so great. I'll give it like a 7, but if you don't mind the sculpt, then I can bump it up to like an 8 or 9 because I love the way the heads look. Okay, now as far as accessories go, you get the same faceplates generally speaking. So you get the neutral face that comes on them in the package. You get the veiny neutral one, although this time the eyes are slightly looking to the right, whereas I'm pretty sure the original release they were not. Then you get the smirky face, the teeth showing face, and then the laughing face. They look wonderful. SH Figuarts Bandai has really been nailing the paint jobs on these SH Figuarts Dragon Ball figures faces. Very, very nice. For hands, it's the same set of hands as before. 2 fist hands, 2 palm hands, 2 clenchy hands, and then the 2 finger hand. So that's all the same. And now we do get the new Super Saiyan 2 Goku aura effect, which is my favorite aura effect that they have done. They've only done 2, but this one's really nice. I think the sculpt on this one is so much better. I love having these guys on here. If you don't like the blue, you can just pop them off. The holes aren't super, super ugly. So that's cool, but having the blue lightning around there is a nice look for sure. So you could definitely use this for other characters. Basically any Super Saiyan. No one's gonna be like, hey, wait a minute, why is there blue lightning? He's not supposed to have blue light. I'm kidding, of course somebody would say that if they saw your collection, but it is a nice aura effect, my personal favorite, so I'm glad they included that. And he looks good in it too. You'll see some photos, of course, but I'll just show you this real quick so you have an idea. He looks very nice with the aura effect. The metallic hair lends itself to that sort of thing, so that's cool. Accessory wise, I'm gonna go 9 out of 10. Aura effect is nice. Energy effect would be better for a move or something, and then of course like a stand for him to be lifted off the ground, but multiple heads, multiple hands, and an aura. Pretty happy with that. Okay, let's talk about the articulation. It's the same as before, but we'll go ahead and run it anyway just in case you haven't seen it, and so that we can give these guys a proper review. Alright, so he's got the ball hinge in the neck. It seems to like to sit a little bit lower, or maybe my other one just liked to sit a little high. Maybe I didn't push it in hard enough. I don't know, that's what she said, but it does sit low, so you get limited range. That's a bummer, but it does look nice, so that's good. You don't want a long neck on them, but the neck is on a ball peg also, and that wiggles around, so I don't know why that feels like it's sitting extra, extra low. Let's see. It's sitting too low? No, that's pretty much where his head's supposed to be. Well, maybe they adjusted that a little bit, because that looks good in terms of height. But it does seem a little bit more limited, but it should be good enough. Let me pan back. It should be good enough. That's alright. Alright, for the shoulders, you get the butterfly that goes forward. It's honestly one of their better butterflies. It does have the blue back here rather than flesh tone, so that's good. And you can get the arm somewhat across the chest. It's still not a ton based on the way they sculpted it, but it's there, so that's okay. You get the ball peg that lets the arm move around in the shoulder. Then you get the hinge. Shoulders are a little bulky for that butterfly socket, so you can't quite get up to horizontal. That's a bit of a bummer. Do love the bulkiness of the shoulders. We see a lot of that in that upcoming Goku release. That's going to be awesome. Bicep swivel. Whoa, okay, hey. What is it with SDCC exclusives and their left arm coming off? Maybe that's no big deal. Let's see. Maybe it just wasn't pegged in quite all the way. So it's not like falling off, but it definitely can be wiggled free. Did this guy originally have crossed arms? No, he didn't. Try this side. Huh. I have to try it on the other figure. Is this a new thing or is this an old thing? If it's a new thing, that's a bummer. That's a big time bummer. they're not falling off on their own. Let me be clear. So it's not like it's going to be a huge deal. It's a pain in the ass when you're posing them. That might happen, but it's not like they can't hold a pose or anything. Let's see. Okay, it's not a new thing. Bandai, you're in the clear, sort of. You didn't fix it, so that's a problem, but you didn't create a new problem. So that's okay, I guess. I don't remember that. Was that a thing in the other review? Yeah, they're not floppy. They're not loose. The joint's not loose. Just if you wiggle it and pull it off, it'll pop off. So that's annoying, but not fatal. Said that about a McFarlane figure the other day. You know, you can have problems with a figure that are more annoying than anything, but we're still going to include that as a problem. Double jointed elbow is fine. Wrists on little ball hinges, that's fine. Torso on this guy, I think he had a hinge, right? Yeah, he's got a hinge to help him lean, which doesn't really work. He doesn't lean very far forward. Doesn't lean very far back. At the top joint, side to side, is probably better than either of those. And then you do get some rotation. Lower joint, it does have a hinge that lets it lean forward and back. So that'll help you with your posing, that's good. Doesn't lean side to side, does rotate. So yeah, the torso's okay. It's not great. This is a relatively old release at this point. I mean, as far as the mold goes. So honestly though, like, I know everybody hated this, or at least I think everybody hated this when it came out, and I wasn't a big fan of the skinny torso, but you can pose it thanks to those big shoulders, and at least this one with a good paint job, you can pose it to make it look pretty darn cool still. So that might be one of those things where it's like technically not good, but you can still have fun with it. So that's worth considering. I don't really factor that in my reviews, but can't hurt to mention when it's the case. I think it's going to be on this one. Thigh swivel is fine. You can see all the joints work pretty well. Not full on splits, but they're okay. You can definitely kick all the way forward on this release and all the way back, in case I didn't say it while I was doing it, but plenty of range. I miss these days where the hips had all that range. Double jointed knees work just fine. Good proportioning. Ankles are still the bad ankles. I hate these ball peg ankles. Like, that's not a flaw with the figure, I just pulled on it too hard. Ball peg ankles don't give you enough range without having big gaps. These ones are okay. Like, you can bring the foot forward a little bit, you can bring it back a little bit, but that's when it pops out. You go too far. They're just, it needs to be a ball hinge. Ankle rocker is very limited. Toe hinge is okay, but yeah, it's not a great mold. Articulation is acceptable in some places, not great in others. It's not horrible anywhere. So I'll give it like for Figuarts, it's like a 7. It's okay, but it's definitely not my favorite mold. But I don't think it's that bad, personally. I personally think it's okay, but objectively it's a 7. All right, so as far as the final rating on this guy goes, much improved over the first release, in my opinion. Objectively, there's not a whole lot to say other than I mean, it's definitely a cleaner, nicer paint job on the faces. But whether you like it or not, that's totally up to you, so I can't really say about that. Although I would argue this is much more accurate. Yeah, the rest is kind of personal preference, but they did do a good job updating it. I personally think it looks much better. Much better. Like a whole lot better, but that's, again, totally up to you. The new accessory is nice. So let me know in the comment section below what you guys think. Is the SDCC version a nice improvement over that first release? Did you hate the first release? Did you like it? What do you think? Give me your thoughts on the whole situation. I'm glad they made a new version, because if they don't make another MAJIN VEGETA, this one makes me much happier than the previous release. Okay, so I'm going to give it a final rating of, with the aura effect part, if I have to include this, I'm only going to do 7 out of 10. I really don't like the tiny torso. If we're just going to let that slide because obviously they're not making a new mold as an exclusive, I could easily bump it up to an 8 or an 8.5. I do think this one looks really good. Like, if you just kind of saw that, you'd be like, yeah, that's a solid Figuarts figure. That looks nice. But then if you look at it head on, his torso is the same size as his thigh, which is a little bit weird for Vegeta. But I mean, I like it. It's okay. We have to remember that these are exclusives. They can't just be like a whole brand new mold. So it's like kind of a weird rating, but there it is. Okay, that's enough of me rambling. Thanks for watching, guys. If you enjoyed the video, please do give it a thumbs up. If you didn't, give it a thumbs down. And if you haven't subscribed, you should. I have new videos almost every single day and thousands already on the channel. So make sure you come back for all of that. In the meantime, keep collecting.